Welcome back. If you watched the last video, welcome if you did not. Now, one thing I learned from the last video is you guys didn't like the technical stuff that much. So the last video is sitting at 1,000 views, not so many. But anyway, I'm building this for me and I hope you enjoy it by the end of it. But today we have the go-kart on the ground and we are going to be getting the thing spinning the wheels. So that is my goal by the end of this video, is to drive this thing, whether it's just in here, I want it to move under its own power. Down here, I fitted up our custom laser cut sprocket. After a few renditions on the 3D printer, fine tuning the roller diameter, etc. to suit the 42 teeth sprocket, we finally got something that works with the 428 chain. I've cut the chain to length. I'm not going to show you how to do that. There's plenty of videos on YouTube on how to get your chain to the right length. We're going to quickly remove the motor from the car and we're going to drill the holes that we missed in the motor mount plate. After that, we're going to get stuck into cutting and welding the plate to mount the controller. After we've mounted the controller, we're going to put the motor back on and we're going to set our chain tension. So we'll use the slots in the plate to get the motor lined up, and then we will be ready to power it up and ratchet strap the battery to the back of the cart and see if we can get it to move under its own power. So that shouldn't take us long, so let's get straight into it. Alright, the motor is off, and as I mentioned in the last video, I accidentally took the measurements instead of from center to center, I took it from edge to edge, and these holes are out of position, so they need to be about here. So we're just going to re-drill. I'm not sure if I'll weld this up or I'll just drill a hole right next to it. I don't think it is going to interfere. We'll be able to drill a hole right next to it without any issues. It's just to get the alignment. It's not worth anything. 2 bolts would probably be enough, but I just want to do that just for extra measure. And then we're going to have to trace the panel for this onto a bit of steel and cut it out, because we're doing that manually. I'm not getting that laser cut. I don't want to wait a couple of days. So what I've done is, alright, so here is a 3D printed 1-to-1 of the plate that I need. Now, it doesn't need to have this hole cut out the center, so we may or may not do that. That was more so from a cooling point of view, but because we're spacing it up off this, it probably won't matter. From a lightweight, we could cut out the center, but obviously it's more work. So my plan is to sit that on like that, right on the edge of the bit of steel. This is 8mm thick, probably a little bit of overkill. Actually sit that on there, trace around, trace the holes, and then just cut it with a grinder. Shouldn't take too long. Just like that. Now we just cut along this line, and we'll have one of these, but out of steel. And just like that, the old-fashioned way, we have our mounting plate. This is going to weld on here, much like we did with this one. And the controller will just bolt through some long bolts, bolt it there, keep it secure. Just got to work out how far back or forward I want to have this sit. Going like that, something like that. We'll weld along these edges here, and they'll be absolutely overkill for the light controller. So welded the plate on, then we have our TPU spacer in between, then the controller sits nicely on there, perfectly clearance between the seat, and we'll just run a few M6 bolts through here, and that'll be mounted securely. Then obviously we can mount the motor back on. We're going to do another hole there, same as that one, but otherwise that's ready, welded on. As you can see, we're not actually prepping or painting any of these surfaces that we're welding, because after all this works and it's all done, I'm going to strip it back and shot blast it and powder coat the whole frame. So let me know in the comments what color you think we should do. I'm leaning towards chrome at the moment. I've got chrome powder coat that I could do the whole frame in, and then I can add like different accents on different pieces. But anyway, time to chuck the motor back in and wire it up, mount our chain up, and see if we can get it to drive under its own power. So I've just put the chain on and I've put the master link in, and we've tensioned the motor and done up the bolts. So essentially, I can just rotate this by hand. It's actually quite hard to rotate with my opposite hand. So basically, I can spin this, and we're all good now. All right, starting to get exciting now. All we have to do is mount the controller, and you bet I'm just gonna mount it temporary right now because I'm that keen to see if even with the small battery we can spin these tires. So I'm gonna mount the wheel back on. I'm gonna mount the controller, probably with the zip ties. Then I'm gonna get the hand controller and I'm gonna try to drive the cart just in the shed here and see how much power it's got, whether it will do anything. I don't know. I'm just gonna try to accelerate, see if it spins the wheels. Either that or I'm gonna drive straight into the side of the shed. I don't actually know, but we're gonna find out together. So I'm gonna quickly chuck the controller on here, zip tie it down, run the wiring that I need, which is just the power wire, strap the battery up there, and I'll have the hand control either sitting in here or I'll hold it and just like try to do it one-handed, just so we can see and prove the whole concept of all this works. Because what we've done now so far, it really isn't much work and it wasn't really that hard. So since having this cart, I haven't actually driven it. So I just want to get it to move under its own power. Even if it's just in the shed, I just want to be able to sit in it, and that will just give me some more motivation to go spend the money on the big battery and get this thing absolutely ripping. So if you watched the last video, you would have seen I gave you a quick preview of this. So I just want to show you, this is the first revision. I still need to finalize this and I still need to do this, but I really want to get this moving under its own power, as I said before. So we're going to shove this into the chassis. So come have a look. I wasn't perfect spot on for the first print, but that fits very much perfectly, and that goes there. And then this slides on like this, and that's how we control our throttle. So unfortunately, that's not exactly what we want to do right now. So I'm going to put it like this, because I'm going to be reaching down and going like this to actuate the throttle. So as I said, this is not a permanent solution. This is kind of rubbish, but it should get us moving in the cart. So essentially I can reach down here and I can push it forward to throttle, which is not ideal, but I think I can make it work and test if the motor works. I would never ever recommend doing this, but I really want trying to find that little bit of extra motivation to get this done. I've zip tied these cables here, I've zip tied this here, I've plugged them in, I've got a throttle. It is pretty wobbly because again, not lots of support, etc. Then all this is zip tied down, obviously. Got this to stop some wires rubbing there temporarily. Chain, and that's all good. We need to plug the battery in, and I'll just check the settings on my phone. Then we should be good to put the wheel on and have a test rip. Alright, I've plugged the battery in and I'm just going to run it up a little bit to make sure the sprocket and everything looks good. So just going to cover our throttle. So that was max speed. That was full throttle. So again, I haven't really played around with the settings, but that's as fast as it will go with this battery. So let's mount up the wheel and put it on the ground and see if I can, I don't know, make it move or something. Moment of truth. It's going back on the ground. Let's move these things out of the way. Honestly, I think that it's going to be quite anticlimactic. Jason's battery just seems to like not have the oomph. And yeah, I don't know. We're going to give it a crack. That's all we can do. Now, I'm going to try and not drive straight into the roller door. I may open it up, but then I might crash into my ute. So yeah, fingers crossed I can stop between here and there. And yeah. I really haven't dialed in any regen settings or anything like that. I need to do some more research on it, but this will be the first time it drives under its own power. So, moment of truth. Put on a bit of weight. The controller, the throttle is so sketchy. All right, here we go. Whoa! Wait, how do I can't put it in reverse. Okay, so it moves, it works, but I can't put it in reverse because I haven't wired that switch. So that's what happens when you do shit dodgy. Can you push me back? Push me back. Do you want to hold it and see if we can do a little skid for the audience? Right, ready? Alright, so apologies for that, the camera went flat. But you haven't missed anything. Don't worry about the marks on the ground, that's nothing. We're gonna show you what this thing can do. Now keep in mind, it is still very much turned down and limited by our battery here. But we've turned it on and yeah, we're gonna I'll show you what it can do. So we finally hit something. I don't know what it looks like on camera, but there's literally no room in here. It is actually quite tight, and I got to concentrate a lot to actually get it to do it. And it's so what do you say? It's like on the verge of gripping and slipping the entire time. I want to show you a quick like 0 to, I don't know, 20, 30, whatever it does in this small space from there. So I'm going to try to spin it around and I'll show you how quick it accelerates with its current power level. But this is already like so much fun, and now I really have to finish it properly so I can use my foot. Oh, yep, we're not turning around there. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to put the pedal, finish 3D printing that so I can connect the pedal and the cable, and then immediately after that, the first thing I'm doing is a reverse switch and an on-off switch, because it's a pain to have to get everyone to push me back when it doesn't spin. Obviously, I'm not always going to be driving in the shed, but I can imagine no matter what, it's going to kind of be handy straight away. So, all right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Oh! Oh, yeah, she's gonna wheelie. She's getting some heat into the tires, so she might wheelie. Can you roll me back so I can try a wheelie? I'm gonna try to all the way back, so I have room to stop. All right, I'm gonna put my weight to the back. Ready? Oh! I moved the car. We had our first failure. I definitely crashed. My foot slipped off the pedal like that, and then I couldn't slow down at all. So that was great. Yeah, it should be right to just push me back. And I think that's a good sign to call it before we properly break it, because I definitely bent the bumper, because that's like massive gap difference. I think everything else is still good, so we'll call it there. I'm gonna let Grady have a rip because he's been helping me push me backwards and forwards. I can't explain how freaking fun this thing is, and I'm keen to like get it out in the open. So I want to finalize all this now so we can actually take it somewhere and rip it properly before we get onto the next stage of the build. You might get to see a little bit more of us finishing and tidying up this stuff in this video, so stay tuned for that. We're gonna neaten it up and get this pedal working so my foot doesn't slip off, because it's kind of hard to like reach down underneath my leg, and yeah, you end up crashing as you just seen. But strongly recommend. I'm the last person I thought would want an electric vehicle, but the thing rips and there's no arguing. You're just not. I don't think you could possibly get that much torque out of a petrol motor that could fit on this thing, and it's just so quick. So yeah, they are definitely underrated. So from the crash, we did have a little casualty. So I hit the car with the wheel turned, and it has bent the tie rod here. So that's great. But I assume this is just like a part you can just get pretty easily. Still annoying. I'll probably just bang it straight for now. And the other thing is the bumper is definitely tweaked, but that is just cosmetic, so don't think anything else. Then it just needs to be secured a bit more. Sketchy, huh? Yeah.